Chapter 298. The morning heat had yet to set in and the cool breeze by the lake was refreshing. Geezer Shi was amused by Lu Cheng's request. "I knew you couldn't hold back. You haven't even learned the martial arts of dance stage and you're already thinking about awakening your supernatural ability. Go ahead and do it. I'll be watching over you. Nothing will go wrong." Hee hee. Lu Cheng chuckled and didn't talk back to his master. After the White World incident, he had full confidence in his master's strength. He had already analyzed the pros and cons of which supernatural ability he should improve first and made up his mind. The supernatural ability of frost. He chose the lesser of the two evils. The human body's ability to withstand cold was obviously stronger than its resistance to burning fire. This time, what came out of squeezing the Jin Dan wasn't necessarily something like hot current or cold tide. It was highly likely that they would materialize. Lu Cheng calmed down and walked to the lakeside to avoid accidentally causing a fire. He first adjusted his fascia, muscles, and internal organs to create a burning sensation caused by the prairie fire picture. The power of flame in his body grew stronger and turned from a current to a tide. Then he visualized Jerome, who had an animal head and a human body, and stepped on a red dragon. He turned the suppressive and tyrannical charm of the commander of flames into physical and mental changes and controlled the flame that was about to fly away. Bang! Bang! He swung his fists left and right, continuously bombarding the air in front of him with his fists, creating waves of crimson flames. From afar, it looked like fireworks. Geezer Shi stood at the side, holding a silver wine pot, leisurely enjoying the new batch of filial gifts brought by his foolish disciple. After countless punches, the air in the air was so hot that it could distort the light and make the surrounding mist look like a dream. Lu Cheng's power of flame had reached its limit and was almost exhausted. He didn't hesitate and repeated the previous process with a firm will. He twisted his waist and swung his arms, visualized Jerome, and threw a blast punch forward. Bang! As the airflow dispersed, the Jin Dan in Lu Cheng's body was affected. First, it expanded outward, making its nebula dazzling. Then, it quickly shrank, shaking out several layers of grand suns on the outside, turning them into flying meteors. Following the force, they rushed outward. With a boom, the surface of the lake surged, and a pillar of fire shot up a few meters high. The surroundings were filled with white smoke, as if it was real. This. Geezer Shi's mouth was half open. He even forgot to tilt the wine pot beside him. Was this still the performance of a 7th grade or 8th grade supernatural ability? Even an inhuman-level fire force wouldn't be this powerful. The pillars of fire quickly scattered, turning into waves that covered the surface of the lake by the shore, making it seem like it was draped in a red kassaya. After a full 5 seconds, everything returned to normal. On the long bridge, several students who happened to be studying in the teaching area rubbed their eyes and gave up the idea of calling the fire alarm. They suspected that they were hallucinating. At this time, the golden core rotated in a balanced manner, throwing out the excess ice crystals. They disintegrated into cold and were released into the host's body. Lu Cheng immediately lost consciousness. Everything was dark and silent. It was not until a warm current poured into his head from the top of his head, protecting his brain and heart, that he slowly recovered from the feeling of his mind being frozen. He heard the violent beating of his heart and the splashing sound of his blood flowing like a river. He experienced the natural change of ice floating on the surface of the water and gradually melting. A few dozen seconds later, his qi and blood surged, alleviating the coldness and nurturing vitality, reviving all things. T. Lu Cheng's teeth chattered and he shivered. He saw his master withdraw his left hand from his head. Geezer Shi frowned and said, "Fortunately, you didn't try it yourself. You can awaken the power of blaze next month." Lu Cheng nodded while trembling. He had no objection to his master's words. If it wasn't for the old man's help just now, he would most likely have suffered severe frostbite that affected his internal organs. Even if he didn't die, his body would have collapsed. The backlash from the Jin Dan this time was several times more severe than he had expected. Fortunately, he didn't force himself. And when his body adapted to the frost and improved its strength, it would be much safer to awaken the power of Blaze next month. As for the third awakening, I think the thing in your body will collapse by itself. I'm afraid the backlash will be terrible. You haven't reached the physical invulnerability stage, so don't try it. Geezer sure reminded him. Then he smiled and said, "Do you want to drink some wine to warm yourself up?" "Hey, didn't you quit drinking?" "No, I have hot water." Lu Qing regained the ability to speak. "I know. Yen girl has been waiting over there." Geezer sure clicked his tongue and put away the wine jug. He put his hands behind his back and walked to the long bridge. This kid's supernatural ability awakening process is a bit strange. I still don't know enough about cultivation. I have to ask them to get me some information as soon as possible. When he left, he deliberately coughed twice to remind the girl in the woods. Yenjika's face turned red because of his teasing. She walked out with a down jacket and a thermos. She approached Lu Qing and helped him put on his clothes. Then she asked with concern, "Are you okay?" She knew Lu Qing was going to try to awaken the power of frost today. Although she knew Coach Sure would be there and nothing would happen, she was still worried and couldn't calm down. In the end, she chose to be prepared and wait nearby. "Fortunately, my master is here." Lu Qing didn't directly mention the danger just now. He took the thermos from the girl and couldn't wait to take a sip. He felt the warmth flowing down his throat and rippling. It was indescribably comfortable. Yenjika breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at her boyfriend. "Why are you in such a hurry to awaken your supernatural ability? Your martial arts progress hasn't slowed down." That being said, she could guess what was on Lu Cheng's mind. He awakened his supernatural ability so that he could catch up with Peng Liyun faster. Otherwise, when Peng Liyun stepped into the inhuman stage, it would be even more difficult for him to defeat him in college. "You should know why I'm in such a hurry to awaken my supernatural ability." Lu Qing answered with a smile and took another sip of hot water. Yenjika pursed her lips and stared at him. She smiled first and warmly changed the topic. "After this awakening, how much has your power of frost improved?" "My body hasn't recovered yet, so I don't know. I guess that even if I don't use the frost force, I can hurt people with my supernatural ability. But the effect may not be so good." Lu Qing completely recovered and moved his hands and feet. Yenjika pecked his head and suddenly smiled. "Yen Shaoling has been to the martial arts club." "What?" Lu Qing was confused. "That, Eternal Nightfall, the moderator of your forum. She posted a live post about her experience in the martial arts club." Yenjika looked at her boyfriend with a smile. Lu Qing didn't know why he was a little scared by her smile. He hurriedly said, "Idols have to keep a distance from fans, or they will find all kinds of bad things about them. Then fans will change their minds and turn against them." "What are you talking about?" "I didn't mention anything." Yenjika blinked and looked innocent, but the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. Lu Qing quickly changed to a serious face. "I'm just explaining my views and principles. By the way, Ku, are you going to participate in the amateur ranking event in the middle of this month?" Yenjika didn't continue the previous topic. She looked up and shook her head. "No, humph. I've been praised by you so often that I've become a little arrogant. I think the ranking event of amateur first pin should be easy and not difficult at all. It can't be used for actual combat practice, so I'm not going to participate. I think I'm going to sign up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin at the end of October. It may be difficult. Lu Qing said truthfully. After the initiation of the internal training method, Ku's physical quality improved rapidly. Coupled with the family inheritance of her martial arts, her comprehensive strength had indeed surpassed the level of amateur first pin. But to get the professional ninth pin, she was still a little bit lacking. After a few months, she would be more stable after she mastered the meteor force. I know. I didn't expect to get the certificate this time. I'm just going to fight against masters and gain experience. Yenjika said with bright eyes and high spirits. She was full of enthusiasm for martial arts. Okay. Find a chance to compete this month and beat 2 fighters of amateur first pin. Otherwise, you won't be able to sign up. Lu Qing gathered his clothes and drank the hot water. He held the girl's hand and walked to the long bridge with a smile. His steps were a little light. I'll book the hotel and make sure you're ready for the professional ninth pin competition. Hearing this, Yenjike couldn't help but think of the previous experience. That touching, warm and somewhat charming scene. She subconsciously turned her head to the side and spat. She didn't say anything. She believed that idiot Qing could control himself and wouldn't affect her state of mind in the competition. As for after the competition, it depends on his performance. Lu Qing noticed the girl's attitude and felt happy and full of expectations. After school started, the two of them could stick to each other every day again, but correspondingly, they would lose their private space. Lu Qing respected the girl and would not cross the line. Since he was a little greedy, he could only hope for similar opportunities. Alas, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Following this topic, Yenjika asked curiously when they stepped on the long bridge, Qing, are you going to participate in the 7th pin competition at the end of October? This was the ranking event of the district, not held in Songqing. Probably not. Lu Qing didn't hide his intention. Why not? Yenjika was quite surprised. In her opinion, with her boyfriend's cultivation speed, his strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds in the 2 months before the end of October after he obtained the dance stage cultivation method and the corresponding martial arts. Coupled with the second awakening of his supernatural ability, it was very likely that he would get the 7th pin certificate. There was no need to wait until April next year. This was her confidence in Lu Qing. I want to give Peng Liyun a surprise. Lu Qing exhaled and shared his truest thoughts. Once he participated in the ranking event at the end of October and the beginning of November, he would reveal most of his strength. At worst, he could directly sign up for the 6th pin competition next time. Anyway, his record was enough. If it were not his little fairy but someone else, they would definitely laugh at his naivety. Give Peng Liyun a surprise. Yenjika looked up again. You want to leave a shadow of failure in the division competition? Yes, but I can't do it by myself. I have to join hands with your cousin. Lu Qing looked forward and took off his down jacket. His body was very weak, but he walked steadily. Peng Liyun is very likely to stay at the 6th pin level before the winter vacation. This is our chance. By then, I will improve in all aspects and at least reach the top 7th pin level. Your cousin won't be too slow either. I guess he will be at the 7th pin level. With the two of us taking turns to fight, we have a chance to defeat Peng Liyun, who has been going smoothly since entering university. We can suppress his will, affect his confidence in winning, and delay his breakthrough to the inhuman level. Only in this way, we won't face the monster who can defeat everyone in the nationals next April. We can keep our hope. Hearing this, Yenjika turned her head to look at Lu Qing beside her. Looking at his chiseled profile and his eyes that were staring straight ahead, she was a little absent-minded for a moment. After a few seconds, she smiled faintly and said, "Didn't you say you don't care about the topic of the heavenly sons of China?" Lu Qing snorted and answered generously, "Which martial artist isn't competitive? I'm also a martial artist. I don't care and I'm not blindly arrogant, but it doesn't mean I'm competing to prove Peng Liyun's talent. Chapter 299. Lu Qing was driven back to his dormitory by Yan Zhike, who told him to have a good rest and try to recover as soon as possible. He sniffed and opened the door. To his surprise, he saw old Qiu Zhigao, still in the dormitory. "You didn't go to study?" Lu Qing asked in surprise, putting down his down jacket and thermos cup. "Did the sun rise from the west today?" Wasn't old Qiu's catchphrase, "A day's work begins in the morning"? Qiu Zhigao kept moving the mouse in front of the computer screen and said without turning his head, "Grab something." "What are you grabbing?" Lu Qing laughed and opened the wardrobe. He folded the down jacket and put it in a corner. Mo Jingting's concert tickets. Start at 9:30 sharp. Qiu Zhigao stared at the screen. He had been thinking about finding a girlfriend since he entered university. But the one he liked didn't like him, and the one who liked him didn't like him. So he could only stay single and focus on studying and idols. Mo Jingting. Lu Qing curled his lips and said, "Where is the concert?" After returning to Xing province from Moshang, this martial niece had not contacted him much. She only sent him a message once in a while to show her presence. This was indeed a good thing for him. A person's energy was limited. How could he have time to deal with other girls? Songqing. Don't you know? She just announced a few days ago that she will hold a concert in Songqing in November. You can't miss it. Old Qiu said excitedly, It's starting. Songqing. Lu Cheng's brows furrowed, but soon relaxed. It didn't matter. The university martial arts competition would start in November. Based on the school's previous record, most of the matches would be away games. They would hardly be in Songqing on weekends. This was the mode of avoiding harassment. According to his master, he and Lin Ke would take turns to control the field in the first stage of the division competition to train the substitutes. Yeah. Why else would I grab the tickets? What a good opportunity. Old Qiu said and suddenly felt sad and angry. That bastard bought the tickets at a high price. If you didn't grab the tickets, would you buy them? Lu Qing asked with a smile. He summoned his remaining courage to lie down on the bed and let himself fall into the soft quilt. Old Qiu gritted his teeth for a while. Buy. Save some money. True love. Lu Qing praised inwardly. Old Qiu's family background was similar to his before he started practicing martial arts. His family background was average. As a student, he focused on self-study and had no source of income. He was supported by the living expenses provided by his family. This was saving from the rations. In order not to disturb old Qiu, he didn't say anything more. He took out his phone, unlocked it, and saw that Yan Zhike had sent a photo of her cleaning in the dormitory. Someone jumped off the building. In mid-air, the figure suddenly expanded like a rock spreading its wings. It glided forward in a small margin. Then he landed firmly on the ground, which seemed to shake the surroundings. Let's go. Peng Liyun jumped to Su Wanyan's side and greeted him with a smile. Su Wanyan looked at the place where Peng Liyun had landed and found no obvious traces. He couldn't help but be shocked and worship junior brother Peng's strength again. He's getting stronger and stronger. The freshmen were silent as if they had seen a monster. At this moment, the dormitory manager rushed out of the door and shouted, Peng Liyun. Why didn't you take the stairs again? What if you scared the others? Peng Liyun shrunk his shoulders and didn't show a cold expression. He just smiled and said, I was thinking about a problem. It was a difficult problem, so I took a shortcut. Shortcut. The freshmen around all opened their mouths wide. Su Wanyan held back his laughter and apologized to the dormitory manager. I'll take care of him, he said as he pulled Peng Liyun away from the crime scene. What do you think of this post? Since it was a daily thing, he didn't mention what had just happened and handed his phone to Peng Liyun. Peng Liyun read it and laughed in a low voice. It's very interesting. Just don't run into Lu Qing. Yeah, I'm worried when I think of my supernatural ability being restrained by him. Fortunately, Xiaofang's body has also become a big Dan. Su Wanyan sighed. After the supernatural ability of Corvine Mouth became stronger, he had a certain chance of winning against professional 8th pin or even professional 7th pin. But if his supernatural ability lost its effect, his body as a top professional 9th pin fighter would definitely be no match for a mighty one of Dan's stage. He couldn't help gossiping. Junior brother Peng, when will you reach the inhuman level? I heard that Rinli is about to reach professional 6th pin and Lu Qing is catching up very quickly. The competition for the champion of this year's martial arts competition was extremely fierce, but as long as junior brother Peng could reach high pin, everything would become simple again. As for whether Rinli and Lu Qing would reach the inhuman level in the next competition, it was not a problem for him to consider. I've already graduated. Peng Liyun's face was clean and his eyes were clear. He looked at the clouds in the sky and said, when will it be? His eyes gradually lost focus and his movements became sloppy, as if he was moving forward by instinct. But he could accurately avoid obstacles like trees, small stones, and frolicking students. Junior brother Peng is in a daze again, and he has evolved to be in a daze while walking. Su Wanyan sighed helplessly and stopped thinking about the martial arts competition. He shifted his thoughts to the gathering area of the nightclubs in Pingjiang City and the girls with different characteristics. He pulled his collar, feeling a little hot. In the only university campus in Jiang City, Chu Hui, wearing a white shirt, floated 30 centimeters above the ground in the office of the martial arts club. He looked at the members in front of him and said with a faint smile, "What do you think? What do you think of the discussion?" The leading members and substitutes of the martial arts club were all silent, lowering their heads as if they had done something wrong. They didn't dare to speak. Luo Hei's, you first. Chu Hui, who was also the coach of the martial arts club, had the authority to look down on others. Luo Hei's was tall and looked honest. The childishness on his face had disappeared. He touched Bangguang's head and said, "Those animals of Songqing University are growing too fast. Last year they were just walk-ons, but this year they have 2 Dan stage fighters, and Lu Qing is close to professional 7th pin." It was like a dream. In the martial arts circle of universities, there were indeed geniuses and strong fighters, but the number and foundation were not enough. Dan stage fighters were rare in most schools. After all, this was the real beginning of martial arts. In a strong school like Jiang City, none of the professional 9th pin fighters in the first few years had reached Big Dan and Qi by the time they graduated. This showed how difficult it was to reach Dan's stage. But Songqing University Martial Arts Club had 2 Dan stage fighters in less than a year. Wasn't this bullying? This is other people's talent. You can't be envious. Chu Hui crossed his arms and said insincerely. Then he put on a serious face and said, "Hey, you're actually very talented. Even if you can't reach the inhuman level like Peng Liyun, Renli, Lu Qing, and Lin Ke, you should at least reach Dan's stage now. But look at yourself. What the hell are you doing? You should stay away from those bad friends." Yes. Luo Hei's lowered his head. Being too shy to refuse people was his biggest flaw. After scolding Luo Hei's, Chu Hui looked at another member and frowned. "Take it easy. You're also a person who has a chance to reach Dan's stage. Don't you want to go further before graduation? You'll live a good life in the future." Yin Xiangxi smiled bitterly and said, "We've known each other for more than 3 years. Don't you know my character?" His fighting style was aggressive. He would never defend unless he had no other choice. Even if the referee stopped him in time, he had been injured several times in the past few years. His martial arts practice lacked continuity, and his talent was gradually depleted. Both of them were troublesome. Chu Hui didn't say more. He stared at the phone on the desk like an eagle. When discussing the division, they only mentioned Shanbei and Songqing University, Pingliyun, Fangzhirong, Lucheng, and Lin, Quebec. They completely ignored Sanjiang School. They completely ignored Chu Hui's existence. Sorry, I've also reached Dan's stage and my supernatural ability has improved. Shanbei, Songqing University, wait for my surprise. Chapter 300. 3 days later, when the freshmen started their military training, Lu Qing, who had completely recovered from the backfire, stood by the Weishui Lake and looked at his master eagerly, waiting for him to teach him something about Dan's stage. In the last 2 morning exercises, he had focused on recovery cultivation. Geyser paced a few steps with his hands behind his back and laughed. Not bad, you didn't open your mouth until now. As for the training of Dan's stage, we all have a consensus that it is a link between the past and the future. How should I say this? First, from the concealment of spirit and qi, to the direct transformation of spirit and qi, to promote the gradual integration of spirit and qi with qi, blood and force, to prepare for the external connection between heaven and earth. Second, to break the limit of the body, to constantly exceed the normal quality, to inner training of root pulp, to achieve miraculous results. Third, on this basis, speed, coordination, control and reaction will be greatly improved, and you will be able to combine the basic force techniques and corresponding punches and feet into moves. Turn it into a move. Lu Qing asked in confusion. Don't I usually use moves? Geyser took out a small flagon, took a sip, smacked his lips and said, think about it, whether it's 24 blizzard strikes or thunder roar zen, there's nothing fancy about the punches and feet, isn't there? It's mainly about the force techniques, the method of borrowing force, and corresponding visualization. It's just the most basic movements, such as collapse, cannon, chop, whip, rush, punch, and so on. But in a fight, I will also combine them according to the situation. Don't these count as moves? Lu Qing vaguely understood his master's meaning. Yes, these are the basic moves. Why else would the fighting style of Dan's stage be a link between the past and the future? Geyser answered proudly. However, the moves of the Dan stage are the result of continuous improvement and refinement by generations of seniors. It's definitely better and more reasonable than your purely improvisational performance. The follow-up moves are all full of killing intent. Of course, you can't stick to the moves of your predecessors. No matter how strong they are, they still have to be used in actual combat. When you master them, you will be able to use them according to the situation at hand and combine them at will. You will be considered a master in this aspect. Lu Qing asked blankly, then what's the difference with me now? Both are specific responses to specific situations and can be combined at will. Of course it's different. It's just like how you read books. One of you knows nothing, so you just sit there and let your imagination run wild, winning by slapping your head. The other one has comprehended the knowledge of his predecessors and then started to think about his own things. Even if you happen to be involved in the same topic, it's still not the same. Geyser replied grumpily. The difference between a scientist and a civilian scientist. Lu Qing suddenly understood. Is this the 3 realms of seeing a mountain as a mountain, seeing a mountain as not a mountain, seeing a mountain as still a mountain? You're right. Geyser coughed twice. I'll start with visualization. You've already been exposed to the Dan stage, so it shouldn't be too difficult to master it. In terms of mental cultivation, you need to develop from the condensation stance to the ice mirror. It doesn't matter if you haven't learned the basics of the ice mirror yet. You just need to slowly integrate what you know into the condensation stance. Master, I'm almost at the beginner level of ice mirror. Lu Qing happily reported his progress. After the initial integration of mental, chi, blood, and force, and with the foundation of meditation, he had gradually found the feeling of practicing the ice mirror. Although it wasn't rapid progress, it seemed that he was about to reach the threshold. At most half a year, at least 2 or 3 months, there was hope for him to learn the basics. That's not what I want to hear. Geezer sure glared at him. When you learn the basics of the ice mirror, your mental cultivation will focus on it. You can use it until you're close to the physical invulnerability. As for the internal training of the body, hey, you've also learned the frozen ground map and the frozen river map. They're the contents before the inhuman level. Ah. Isn't this the frost force? Lu Cheng was confused. Geezer sure smiled proudly. The external force is the frost force, and the internal force is the body training method. Why else would it be called the core force of the ice sect? I didn't tell you before because your body isn't strong enough to withstand the internal force. Once you train, you'll be injured and destroyed. This is also why from the Dan stage onwards, the martial arts practitioner's practice must be fixed. They must distinguish between the primary and the secondary. Force is the training method, which will affect the root pulp and change your body. If they're mixed and have conflicting natures, then the genes will collapse. Geezer Sher, who was often in contact with military research, came up with a fashionable term. So it's like this. Lu Cheng said thoughtfully. Master, I'm based on the balance of ice and fire. How can I prevent them from conflicting and causing problems with the root pulp? I don't have experience in this. Geezer Sher's answer scared Lu Cheng so much that he almost shivered. It's because you had to awaken the 2 supernatural abilities of ice and fire, and mix them with the things of cultivation. Before Lu Cheng asked again, he smiled and said, but, it's not a problem. Your root pulp has changed long ago. Otherwise, how can you have supernatural abilities? Moreover, your supernatural abilities of ice and fire are under the influence of Longhu Immortal's relics and your Dan equilibrium. Haven't they been peaceful and without conflict? This shows that the foundation has been mixed and your body has adapted. As long as the difference between the two isn't to the extent that you lose control, your genes won't collapse. That scared me. Lu Cheng wiped the non-existent cold sweat. Master, so I have to follow the fire attribute martial arts in the future? Yes, it's the same when you reach the physical invulnerability stage. Geezer Sher nodded leisurely. Lu Cheng was curious. Then what's the physical invulnerability force that corresponds to Zhu Rong force? How do I get it? Fire force, Emperor Yen force. Geezer Sher answered with a smile. Emperor Yen force, why does it sound so familiar? Lu Cheng blurted out. It'd be strange if it didn't. It's the Dragon King's specialty. Geezer Sher coughed twice, straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. Oh, right. Lu Cheng unconsciously spoke like Yen Jike. When 2 people have been together for a long time, they would always influence each other in some aspects. After saying that, he realized something and asked in astonishment, this is the martial arts of the fire sect? The fire sect. The divine kung fu of the fire sect and the 5 sect unique skills of Taoism. It was different from the ice sect unique skill of the ice sect. It was called the fire sect itself. Yes, I've wasted a lot of my reputation and favors. Geezer Sher nodded proudly, satisfied with his silly disciple's reaction. Lu Cheng was touched, but he knew that his master didn't want to hear words of gratitude, so he played along and said, Master, you're so awesome. You can even get the martial arts of the fire sect. Master's face is a little old. Cough, it's still worth a lot. Geezer Sher coughed happily and added, and some people think highly of you, maybe they, what? Lu Cheng asked. Nothing, just a casual remark. Geezer Sher said carelessly, let's continue with what we just said. The internal withdrawal is the reverse. First, we'll use the frozen river diagram, then the frozen ground diagram to influence the body. We'll practice more subtle things and gradually interfere with the root pulp. When we reach the inhuman level, we'll be able to change it little by little. He explained the inner practice of the Dan stage in detail, and laid out the differences between the frost force and the Zhu Rong force. He gave a thorough explanation so that his disciple wouldn't make a mistake. After Lu Qing tried a few times and confirmed that there were no problems, he continued to explain. There are two kinds of martial arts in the Dan stage. One is the combination of martial arts that I just mentioned. The other is close to physical invulnerability. When the force can be transformed into a substance and released from the body, it's the rough application of the force. Your supernatural ability is similar to this state. You can practice it in advance, although it won't be as powerful. You can practice 3 martial arts in the next few months. Geezer Shi's face suddenly became serious. Lu Qing held his breath and waited for his master to announce the 3 martial arts. Geezer Shi cleared his throat and said, the 13th move of the ice sect, vast snow. The 19th move, cold bite. The 26th move, ice burning. Hearing his master's words, Lu Qing was excited and had an inexplicable feeling at the same time. This is the treatment of a disciple of a big sect. From this step onwards, even if he lost the Jin Dan, he would be able to shake off his previous opponents, such as Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei. With this blessing and gratitude, Lu Qing was very focused on practicing. Unknowingly, he heard his master say, well, you can practice by yourself for a while. Remember, the special training officially starts today. Don't be late. Lu Qing thought of something and stopped being arrogant. Master, have you prepared the internal training method for the martial arts club? He, Ku, and brother-in-law had it, but the others didn't. I'm still thinking about it. Geezer Shi took a sip of wine. Lu Qing smiled. Master, you don't have to worry about it. I've prepared one for everyone. Where did you get it? Geezer Shi looked at his disciple from head to toe. Didn't I go to Shushan to guide the special training? When I left, the chairman wanted to give me a reward. I thought that everyone still needs the internal training method, so I suggested using their special training method instead. Although it's not very good, it's enough. Lu Qing explained with a smile. And this method could not only be used on his teammates in the martial arts club, but also on his friends and family. If they really wanted to follow this path but couldn't enter the Ice God sect, he wouldn't have to worry about not having something to teach them. Geezer Shi snorted. With your little contribution, you can exchange it for the internal training method. You only teach for 1 day a week. I also felt embarrassed and thought that I might ask for more money. In the end, Chairman Wei agreed immediately. He's a good person. Lu Qing praised. He's a good person. Anyway, the internal training method doesn't belong to his family. It's a good deal to use the Foundation's things to make friends with a potential master like you. Geezer Shi said with a smile. Lu Qing laughed dryly and didn't answer. Ku had already analyzed this for him. Then give me the diagram of the internal training method later. Geezer Shi turned around. I didn't expect you to care so much about the martial arts club. The internal training method at this level didn't touch on the essence and charm. Lu Qing smiled and said, we have a weak foundation. If we want to catch up with the strong martial arts schools, we have to make good use of everyone. You're so ambitious. Geezer Shi scolded jokingly. Hey. Master, don't tell them the internal training method was provided by you. I'm afraid they'll feel uncomfortable when they see me in the future. Lu Qing requested. Yo, you're doing a good deed without leaving your name. Okay, that's it. Geezer Shi waved his hand and walked to the long bridge. This is a kind of state. Lu Qing complained and turned back to train his strength. Chapter 301. After breakfast, Lu Qing took Yenjika's hand and walked to the martial arts arena happily, preparing for the first special training of the new semester. Feeling the strange gazes of the passing students, he couldn't help but sigh secretly. I haven't shown my love like this for a long time. It's so different to be able to date openly in school. What are you laughing at? Yenjika slightly raised her eyebrows and glanced at him in confusion. Lu Qing laughed and said, I'm proud to have a little fairy. Pfft. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh, feeling that Qing was really a hidden joker. The more time she spent with him, the more she felt this. Her mood improved again. Well, the sky was blue and the wind was clear. While talking and laughing, they arrived at the arena and walked through the gate. They saw several figures that shouldn't be here at this time. The leader was wearing a white shirt, a light gray suit, and a skirt. She had a slim figure and an outstanding appearance. Her short hair was just right, refreshing and pretty. She was Shu Rui, the reporter of Songqing TV station who had interviewed the martial arts club several times. Beside her, a small team was busy preparing for the shooting. Lu Qing and Yenjika looked at each other and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. Then they tacitly unclasped their hands to avoid being caught by the camera. Hi, Lu Qing. Shu Rui looked around and found an acquaintance. She immediately waved and greeted him happily. Reporter Shu, you're here for an interview so early? Lu Qing walked over curiously and asked. Yenjika followed him obediently with her hands behind her back and pricked up her ears. Shu Rui showed her dimples and said with a smile, it's not an interview. It's a program recording. A program recording? Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. What kind of program is there to record? Shu Rui showed her 8 teeth and said, you and Lin Ke have become the top group in the whole university martial arts circle. Songqing University Martial Arts Club will definitely advance in the division and even have the hope to enter the Final Four. You're the focus of everyone's attention. Let me say good luck first. As the TV station of Songqing, how can we miss this focus? The leader has approved me to do a special program. Special? Lu Qing pondered over the word. Yenjika was also confused. Shu Rui chuckled. It's a documentary-type program. From now until April next year, I'll come here every few days to film something. I'll record your special training, practice, preparation, warm-ups, competitions, as well as your daily life. I'll show you your true selves from all aspects. When the time comes, I'll use this as material to make a special topic for you to participate in the national competition. Such a program. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, it sounds interesting. I've done some research, and many people are interested. Shu Rui replied with a smile. This program was planned by me. I planned it. Yenjika pursed her lips with a smile and watched quietly. She seemed to have seen reporter Shu's cocky tail. We'll try our best to cooperate. Lu Qing said politely and pointed to the team. I'll go over and gather first. No. Don't worry. It's just a coincidence that we met. Just a few words, just a few words. Student Yen, you can say something later. Shu Rui pointed the camera at Lu Qing and Yenjika dodged to the side. All right. Lu Qing was a veteran who had been through hundreds of battles, so he wasn't scared at all. Shu Rui smiled and said, be normal. Just like how you greeted me just now. Hey, Lu Qing, you're early. It's late. Reporter Shu, you're all here. Lu Qing made a joke. You're in a good mood. You feel relaxed and full of motivation. Do you have a goal for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition? Shu Rui asked with a smile. A soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good driver. Lu Qing answered humorously. Got it. I won't delay your special training. Bye. Shu Rui waved her hand. Bye. Lu Qing walked to the team and greeted Kai Zhongming, Li Mao, Guiqing, Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Jiang Fuxing, Li Xiaowen, and Wu Meng. Yan Jika was stopped by Shu Rui and had to stop. Student Yan, you're a real beauty. You don't have to worry about going on camera without makeup or Photoshop. Shu Rui conducted the interview with a relaxed attitude. I'm not worried about that. Yan Jika blinked her eyes and answered innocently. Shu Rui smiled and said, You rarely accept interviews before, so it's inevitable that I have an illusion. I was a substitute at that time. There was no need for me to be in the limelight. Yan Jika said naturally. As a substitute, have you prepared for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition? Shu Rui went back to the topic. Yan Jika's eyes lit up and said, Yes, but there's still a long way to go. I hope I can be close to the level of a professional ninth pin before the district competition. She wasn't modest or exaggerating. Wow, that's great. I'm so envious. Shu Rui made a gesture and said, Student Yan, you can do it. Thank you. Yan Jika bowed politely and walked toward the team with her graceful back. At this moment, Lin Kei walked out of the locker room, looking clean and fresh. Shu Rui signaled the cameraman to follow him and walked up to him with a nervous smile. Hi, Student Lin Quebec. She hoped he was in a good mood today. It's you again. Lin Kei glanced at her. What did he mean by, again? Shu Rui's mouth twitched. Was he mocking her for being a reporter for more than a year? Was he still interviewing Songqing University Martial Arts Club? But it was rare to be promoted after working for more than a year, especially when she ignored some of the leader's hints. She curved her lips and said with a fake smile, Yes, it's me again. Chapter 302. Shu Rui, who was about to retreat, saw the scene and heard the conversation between the two. Her eyes lit up. Breaking news. Breaking news. A direct confrontation between two heavenly sons. Who's stronger and who's weaker on the first day of the special training? Is the competition in Songqing University Martial Arts Club always so exciting? She stopped in her tracks and became excited. Her eyes shone as she signaled to the cameraman to find a better position and grab the golden spot next to the ring. At this moment, Gizershur turned around and said, Miss Shu, aren't you leaving? Shu Rui pretended not to understand what the other party was implying. She pitifully acted cute and said, Take another picture, take another picture. That won't do. The competition later involves the secret of our martial arts club's preparation. We have to clear the venue. Gizershur was well informed and didn't get confused. He smiled and went straight to the point. Shu Rui pretended to be wronged and said, Coach Sure, we're not outsiders. Not only the local TV station, but we've also interviewed you many times. We'll keep it a secret and won't spread the news. Before the program is broadcast, we'll ask you to go through it and see if there's anything that shouldn't be shown. No, no. Shi Jiangwo smiled and shook his head. We'll sign a guarantee. Shu Rui raised her arm. Gizershur was unmoved. Go out and leave some suspense for the program. Okay. Feeling the firm will of this mighty one with physical invulnerability, Shu Rui replied dejectedly and led the cameraman out of the door. She walked 3 times in one step and almost stepped all the ants on the ground. Just as she walked out of the stadium, she heard hurried footsteps behind her. She was delighted and thought that Coach Sure had changed his mind. If you don't forget, there will be an echo. Shu Rui turned her head and saw Kai Zhongming. She smiled and said, New president, why are you following me? Kai Zhongming looked at her with appreciation and spread his hands helplessly. Lock the door. Lock the door. Shu Rui stared blankly at him. She watched the door close inch by inch in front of her. She heard a clang and the sound of the lock cylinder being buckled. The wind blew and her hair rose and fell. After a long time, she turned around and greeted the cameraman and the others. She said in a languid tone, "Let's go." "Shu, don't worry about it. This kind of thing is very common. Who would let an outsider film an internal competition? Isn't this leaking military secrets?" The beauty frowned. The cameraman wasn't heartless and couldn't help but comfort her. "I understand." Shu Rui regained her vitality and narrowed her eyes with a smile. "It's just that I don't know if I should say a curse word." Wu Meng and Jiang Fuxing cooperated with Li Xiaowen to invite all the students who were doing fitness exercises in the gymnasium to the strength training gymnasium. They asked them to stay inside for the time being and use the equipment to kill time. They went outside and surrounded the ring, waiting for the start of the competition with great interest. This seemed to have become a tradition in the martial arts club, right? The first day of the special training last term was also the duel between Lin Ke and Lu Qing. That time, Lin Ke won, but Lu Qing grew stronger at an incredible speed. He even won the championship of their provincial youth tournament and was considered to have the strength of a seventh pin fighter. This time, who would be better than him? They didn't think that Lin Ke had a 100% chance of winning. After all, Lin Ke had entered the Dan stage in June. After 3 months of hard work, it was hard for outsiders to predict his current level. Who knew how far he had progressed? Yan Zhike, on the other hand, knew about both sides. She wanted to say something, but in the end, she swallowed the words back into her stomach. This kind of thing should be solved by themselves. This was the purity of a martial artist. No matter how close they were, others shouldn't interfere. Based on her understanding of Lu Qing and Lin Ke, she was sure that they would go all out in the competition, regardless of other factors. Lu Qing smiled at his girlfriend and stepped into the ring. He was actually very curious about how much his brother-in-law had improved in the past 2 months. The practice method of the Dan stage. The corresponding moves. He seemed to be an official disciple of Shu Shen's study. It was said that he had the ability to observe the fighting sect. It's a pity that I've only been exposed to similar martial arts since this morning and haven't had time to make any progress. I've only skipped the most difficult part because I can use my supernatural ability to replace it. I've mastered it pretty quickly. Lu Cheng's thoughts were running wild as he stood on the left side of his master. Showing his strongest side was the only way to show respect to his brother-in-law. Lin Ke was already waiting there. His eyes were indifferent and burning, which was quite contradictory. If it's just a competition, there's no time to talk. Geyser coughed. Let's start. As soon as he finished his words, Lin Ke's qi and blood gathered and released. His whole body was like a cannonball, blasting towards his opponent. His speed was so fast that Lu Qing almost had the illusion that his brother-in-law was breaking the sound barrier. Bang! The explosion of the airflow and Lin Ke's figure almost arrived at the same time. Lu Qing didn't have time to dodge, nor did he have time to use severe warning. He lowered his center of gravity, gathered all the strength in his body, and expanded his muscles and fascia. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and threw out a right fist from his waist. Let's see which is better, my Dan stage version of 24 Blizzard Strikes or your Dan stage Yin-Yang Twist. Just as the two of them were about to collide into each other and create a car accident, Lin Ke suddenly stopped. A loud grinding sound came from under his feet, and his right arm swelled up. He clenched his fist and punched out. It was so fast that it left afterimages behind. But this punch didn't stop Lu Cheng's attack. Instead, it hit the empty space between them. Boom! With Lin Ke's punch as the starting point, it was like a small bomb had been detonated. The shockwave wrapped in the airflow rushed towards Lu Qing violently, trying to tear his body apart. Punching like exploding a mountain. The 27th move of the fighting sect, meteor burst. Lu Qing was shocked. He pulled and released his right fist and his left arm bounced up, opening his 5 fingers and blocking the vital part of his face. He swayed back in the wind of the shockwave, cleverly releasing the force to resist. After the first move, Lin Ke made 2 consecutive bursts. He supported himself with his right leg and stepped forward with his left foot, as if plowing the ground. Bang! The ground he stepped on was intact. But under Lu Cheng's feet, the surface of the ring cracked like a volcanic eruption. The fragments turned into hidden weapons and shot up. The 16th move of the fighting sect, ground cracking. Lu Cheng was swaying to resist the shockwave. Suddenly, he lost his center of gravity and was facing many flying fragments that could hurt him. At the critical moment, he bent his thigh and breathed heavily. He first did the Dan concentration to soften his muscles and remove most of the power of the hidden weapons. Then he completed the explosion, expanding his muscles and skin, turning the surface blue and black, and bouncing off the fragments one by one. At this time, Lin Ke wouldn't just watch him defend. He was already close to him, stretching out his right hand and opening his 5 fingers to grab him. Combo attack. In the fighting sect, if one could make 7 consecutive moves, combining long-range and short-range attacks, it would be a famous physical invulnerability move, the 6th move of the fighting sect, Big Dipper main kill. If one could only make 5, 4, or even 3 consecutive moves, it would be a lower move. Of course, this lower move was only relatively speaking. The effect was equally terrible because there were only 9 moves in the physical invulnerability section of the fighting sect. What Lin Ke was using now was the elementary version. The 10th move of the fighting sect, Death End. Seeing his brother-in-law's right hand about to grab him and complete the combo attack, Lu Qing suddenly exhaled. He lowered his right hand, hooked it and shook it. A glittering and translucent white light landed on the ground and rapidly swam towards Lin Ke, who was pouncing towards him. The 26th move of the ice sect, Ice Burning. Chapter 303. Lu Cheng's crystal-cold light dashed across the ground and instantly hit his opponent. Wherever it passed, it left behind traces of frost, as if it had dragged the autumn into early winter. Lin Ke felt as if he had stepped on a landmine. His left leg was enveloped by a snow-white flame that condensed into a layer of crystal-clear ice. He couldn't help but shiver, and his grasping motion slowed down. Now is the time. Lu Cheng's body swayed and circled to the side of his brother-in-law. His qi, blood, and force were still rushing outwards, propping up his muscles and tendons, making him taller. Bam! His right hand was like a steel whip, whipping downwards with a surge of vibration force. The friction in the air produced a sharp, ear-piercing sound. At this distance, he wasn't worried that Lin Ke would dodge. The scene just now made Li Mao, Sun Jian, and the others stunned. They felt as if they were watching a battle between physical invulnerability experts. Since when could Qing release his supernatural ability of frost? When he fought in the provincial youth tournament at the beginning of August, the last 2 matches were so tough, but they didn't see him use this move. In just a month, his supernatural ability had made another breakthrough and completed a new generation. No wonder Coach Shi asked reporter Xu and the others to leave. This was indeed a secret that could give Shanbei a surprise. In the arena, Lin Ke seemed to be still under the influence of ice burning. He subconsciously pulled back the left side of his body in an attempt to dodge. Lu Cheng's single whip hit him directly in the ribs. Crack! His body trembled violently. His bones, muscles, skin, tendons collapsed and contracted along with his qi, blood, and force. It was as if Lu Qing had hit empty space. It was extremely uncomfortable, and the vibration from the explosion seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Lin Ke twisted his waist and back, spurting out his big Dan. His muscles bulged one by one, rubbing against the airflow at high speed, creating a sound that converged into a heart-shaking roar. Yin-yang twist, dragon roar. Amidst the roar, Lin Ke used part of his borrowed strength to swing his arms and punch his opponent's lower abdomen within a narrow range. When he was imitating the explosion of the Dan stage, he could still use the meteor force. However, once he completed the real force concentration, he wouldn't be able to do it at the moment. The distance between them was so close that they could hear each other's breathing. Lu Qing knew that if he had been passive once, he would continue to be passive. In a narrow space, courage was the most important thing. Therefore, he clenched his teeth and made 2 consecutive bursts with the will of the brave. His right arm swelled and lifted, and his fist met the attack head-on. Bang! The air billowed and stirred up a strong wind in the arena. Lu Qing shook his torso and swung his right arm back, trying to use the force to launch the mega avalanche. However, he felt that everything was empty and powerless. But Lin Ke's body didn't stop trembling. He swayed and bounced like a puppet, condensing the external force and his own strength. With the power of Mount Tai and the North Sea, he turned his body sideways, inflated his martial arts suit, and turned into a shooting star, quickly and violently crashing into his opponent. This was the combination of the Dan stage version of yin-yang twist and force concentration. Double explosion. Woo! With a rip in the wind, Lin Ke turned into an iron mountain and was about to stick to Lu Qing. The distance between them was less than a step. Lu Qing's center of gravity swayed, and he leaned to the side a little. He lowered his body and avoided the sharp edge of the leaning attack. His right leg kicked out, aiming for the opponent's weak point in the lower body. He wanted to take advantage of the situation to make Lin Ke lose his center of gravity and fall down himself. At this moment, Lin Ke's body suddenly stopped, just like at the beginning of the match. He came to a sudden stop. The sound of friction was ear-piercing, and the clear traces were frightening. He gathered his strength and stopped right in front of Lu Chang's right leg. Immediately after, Lin Ke took a step forward and skillfully bypassed the attack. His left arm, which was dragging behind, hammered out from the bottom. From a standstill to a rapid speed, it was so aggressive that it could shatter gold and break stone. He relied on the mysteries of yin-yang twist and meteor burst to forcefully continue the terror of force concentration and leveraging force until this moment. Facing this, Lu Qing made a decision in an instant. He returned his qi and blood to his dantian. Expressionlessly, he reached down with both hands and opened up the dark blue veins and small muscles. He grabbed Lin Ke's fist with one hand and pushed it down diagonally with the other. Bam! His right hand was hit and flung back. His 5 fingers couldn't stop trembling. Fortunately, there was a push from the side and a hollow palm to divert the force, so he didn't end up with broken bones. Even so, he didn't dare to take it head-on. Following the momentum of the fling, he took 2 steps back. Lin Ke had succeeded in one move. He stomped his feet hard and rushed to Lu Cheng's front faster than he retreated. At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly sighed and once again used force concentration to return his qi and blood to his dantian, stabilizing his body's center of gravity. His martial arts suit expanded without wind, outlining his muscles. He bounced his left shoulder and shook out his arm. His fist exploded the air and shot towards Lin Ke's chest and abdomen like lightning. Lin Ke blocked the attack with both hands and tried to visualize and adjust his body again, using the yin-yang twist to divert the force. However, without using the Dan stage explosion, there was a substantial gap between him and Lu Cheng's attack. He was only able to divert a little of the force and was knocked back. Lu Cheng took a step forward and caught up with him. Thunder roars then combined with continuous explosion and hit him again. Bam! Lin Kei's body trembled violently and his eyes were dizzy. He was frozen in place. Without waiting for his master to announce the result, Lu Qing withdrew his hand and sighed inwardly. If it weren't for the fact that his brother-in-law's breakthrough to the limit of his body hadn't reached the level of qualitative change and was still at the level of a normal professional eighth pin in the Dan stage, he wouldn't be able to perform more continuous explosion. A normal professional eighth pin in the Dan stage could perform double explosion at most. Only Zhou Jingquan, who practiced martial arts that nourished his body and improved his endurance, could perform triple explosion. Although Qiu Lin and Meng Jifeng, whom Lu Qing had met before, were both professional eighth pin, they were more experienced and their physical state was close to that of a professional seventh pin. Even so, Lu Qing still had a deep impression of Lin Kei's first wave of combo moves. They showed him a very different fighting style from the past. If it wasn't for the breakthrough in his power of frost and the initial mastery of ice burning, which interrupted his brother-in-law's combo, he would most likely have lost. Is this the strength of a Dan stage expert with inheritance? His brother-in-law has such a great performance in actual combat after only breaking through 3 months ago. What about Peng Liyun, who was in the Dan stage 2 years ago and inherited the unique skills of the Thunder sect, who was about to get the certificate of 6th pin? This wasn't something that could be understood just by watching videos. If he didn't try it himself, he wouldn't be able to understand it deeply. Thinking of this, Lu Qing, who had been in the mood since he won the youth tournament, completely disappeared. He had underestimated Peng Liyun before. He collected his thoughts and calmed down. He looked at Lin Kei, who was standing there in a daze and panting. He smiled sincerely and said, "You have to find a way to make up for your weakness in physical strength." He knew that his brother-in-law was arrogant and autistic, so he might as well give him a suggestion directly. Lin Kei calmed down and didn't say anything. He turned around and walked down the stone steps. When he was about to go down, he stopped and nodded slightly. Lu Qing exhaled and turned his head to look at Yan Zhike. He saw that the girl's expression was complicated, full of emotions and sighs. Lin Kei was her idol since childhood. In late September, the military training ended. Yan Shaoling took He Zi and Mu Jinyan to the square in a hurry. Today was the day that all the clubs were recruiting new members. They didn't hesitate. They weren't attracted by the cosplay or the advertisement. They went straight to the booth of the martial arts club and saw many students there, almost lining up. "Oh, you came so early, but you still have to wait." Yan Shaoling rolled her fists under her eyes and pretended to cry. She was already familiar with her roommates. "It's because someone got up late." He Zi spread her hands helplessly. She had changed her style today. She wore a cartoon t-shirt, shorts, sneakers, and carried a backpack. Only the round glasses on her face were still the same. "Well, I'm too tired after the military training." Yan Shaoling stood in line and saw Kai Zhongming, who was hosting the booth. Just as she was thinking whether to go through the back door shamelessly, Mu Jinyan patted her shoulder and pointed in another direction. "Hey, your idol is here." "Ah. Idol? Lu Qing." Yan Shaoling quickly turned her head and looked over. She saw the figure that she used to see through the screen appear beside the stall to help. He was more elegant in person. He was alive, he was alive. Yan Shaoling cheered and jumped behind He Zi, turning into a quail in an instant. "What should I do? What should I do? Lu Qing is there. Didn't you say you would rush to Lu Qing and ask for his autograph and photo?" He Zi turned back and asked. I'm nervous, I can't even say a word." Yan Shaoling lowered her head and looked at her toes, peeking at Lu Qing from time to time. Box, help me ask for it, help me ask for it." He Zi stared at her. If you didn't recognize me as your father, I wouldn't help you. Ah, how many fathers have I recognized? Yan Shaoling thought of this question inexplicably. He took the paper notebook and pen from Mu Jinyan and ran to Lu Qing. She smiled and said, "Hello, can I have your autograph?" Lu Qing had already seen Yan Shaoling, but in order not to expose his habit of reading the fan forum, he pretended not to recognize her. He nodded and smiled. Okay. He took the notebook and quickly signed his name. He thought for a while and asked again, "Can you write for the quail?" "Sure." Lu Qing agreed readily to thank Yan Shaoling for her contribution to the forum. He quickly wrote, "Here," and then froze in place. "What's wrong?" He asked, puzzled. "No, nothing. Let me check my phone." Lu Qing gave a hollow laugh. "Damn, how do I write for the quail?" Chapter 304. Lu Qing pretended to be calm, pretending to reply to a message. He typed the word, quail, on his mobile phone and memorized it in his mind. He wrote it on the tip of his pen, looking very accomplished. Done. He handed the notebook back to He, sweating in his heart. To be honest, he could write the word, quail, when he was in his senior year of high school. But when he went to college, he got used to the keyboard and often forgot to write. That was the most knowledgeable period of his life. He looked at Lu Qing suspiciously and thanked him with a smile. She went back to the end of the line, tore off the signature page and gave it to Yan Shaoling. "Weak chicken," she said. Yan Shaoling was overjoyed and said exaggeratedly, "Box, I admire you. I worship you." Her voice was crisp and delicate, like a primary school student talking. He and Mu Jinyan looked at each other and replied with a blank face, "I don't need weak chicken's admiration." Yan Shaoling was used to being criticized, so she didn't mind. She peeked at Lu Qing and said worriedly, "Why do I feel that his face is a little pale? Is he sick?" With his current physique, it's hard for him to get sick unless he's injured or affected by the unique skills of the plague sect. Mu Jinyan answered calmly. She was a hardcore fan of Lin Ke and treated Lu Qing like a passerby. Maybe something went wrong during training or sparring. He's imagination ran wild as she came up with 100,000 scenarios in her mind. With Lu Cheng's current hearing, he could hear the conversation clearly at this distance. He couldn't help but shake his head with a wry smile. "If I hadn't awakened the power of Blaze for the second time yesterday, I wouldn't have been sent here to help Little Ming recruit new members because of the backlash and the double prohibition of training by both my master and Coach Yen." Lu Cheng's improvement of his power of frost had slightly changed his root pulp, which further improved his physical quality. He had reached the standard for the second awakening of his power of Blaze a few days earlier than Geyser had expected at the beginning of October. After this awakening, Lu Cheng's strength, speed, and agility would officially catch up with an ordinary professional 7th pin fighter of the Dan stage. As time passed, the line moved. Yan Shaoling and the other two came to the booth and faced Kai Zhongming and Li Xiaowen. "Oh, it's you guys." Xiaoming smiled amiably and casually handed over 3 membership forms. Yan Shaoling was not nervous or shy about him. She giggled and said, "Does joining the martial arts club give me an autograph?" She didn't mention Lu Qing directly because her idol was nearby. "It's a complimentary gift. Come, I'll sign one for you. Keep it well, it'll be worth a lot of money in the future." Kai Zhongming joked. The atmosphere suddenly became relaxed. Yan Shaoling picked up the pen and began to fill in the form. In the field of martial arts rank, she felt inferior for 30 seconds and drew a slash. "Every time I had a holiday, I would spend most of my time in bed. How would I have the time and energy to exercise? Not to mention practicing martial arts." After she was done, she looked around curiously to see how her roommates were doing. Box, martial arts level, amateur second pin. Air. Jinyan, martial arts level, amateur third pin. Yan Shaoling opened her mouth little by little and turned it into an O shape. When did they become so powerful? They were all of amateur third pin. I'm the only weakling. At this moment, a joke flashed through her mind. Thank you roommates for not killing me. Kai Zhongming took back the form and glanced at it. Then he smiled brightly. Welcome to the martial arts club. When the holiday comes back, we'll have the welcoming party. I'll call you when the time is fixed. Wow, President, you weren't so enthusiastic before. Yan Shaoling was surprised and joked. Kai Zhongming put on a serious face and said seriously, that's nonsense. Isn't that obvious? I've already confirmed your identities through the form. How can I not treat you well? What identity? Yan Shaoling looked at He and Mu Jinyan blankly and found that they were also confused. Is my identity of living for more than 10 years actually fake? Am I the biological daughter of Taobao's father? Kai Zhongming laughed, the identity of the successor of the communist cause. Not only Yan Shaoling and He burst into laughter at the same time, but also other students joined in. This president is so interesting. When the people at the booth were a little less, Kai Zhongming slipped to Lu Qing and said, Qing, the quality of this newcomer is good. Do you mean the martial arts level or the appearance? Lu Qing looked at Talker suspiciously. Damn, how can you doubt my chastity? Besides, aren't we the peak of the appearance? There's your girl, Lin Kei, and me. We're the super platinum generation. Kai Zhongming struck a pose and said, it's only been an hour and I've already found 4 newcomers of amateur third pin. Well, their quality is quite high. Lu Cheng's eyes lit up and he praised with joy. The martial arts club in the university was different from the professional teams. Every year, there would be people graduating, so the quality of the newcomers was very important to maintain the competitiveness. Although Lu Cheng and the others could say, after I die, I don't care about the flood. Once they graduated, they wouldn't have to worry about the aftermath. However, after a year of fighting side by side and the encouragement of, come again next time, they had developed feelings for the martial arts club and the school. They consciously took up the responsibility of passing on their knowledge. Generally speaking, they're actually stronger than our batch. Ha, don't look at me like that. He was stunned for a few seconds and smiled embarrassedly. No, it jumped out by itself before I moved it. I spent so much effort and wasted so much time sleeping. Why did I do that? Yan Shaoling frowned and nodded solemnly. She walked to He and patted her shoulder to comfort her. I think we can be good friends. After washing up, Yan Shaoling, He and Mu Jinyan rushed to the martial arts club. They had never seen Chen Yuni, another student in the dormitory. According to the counselor, she seemed to be sick and had taken a leave of absence. She wouldn't come to see them until she was cured. Due to the existence of 2 Dan stage fighters and the outstanding performance of the previous semester, the martial arts club had not only recruited many freshmen, but also a group of sophomores and juniors. The stadium was filled with people, and the situation was even better than last year. It's so crowded. Yan Shaoling looked around excitedly. At this moment, her eyes lit up when she saw Yan Zhike in a white martial arts suit. Did you see her? That senior is so pretty, even prettier than when I saw her on TV. Yan Shaoling pointed out to He and Mu Jinyan in surprise. Yes. He glanced at her and nodded. I want to take a picture of her. Yan Shaoling whispered excitedly. Just then, she saw the fresh and beautiful Yan Zhike turn her eyes and slowly walk towards her. The closer you are, the prettier you are. Yan Shaoling said with a smile, but suddenly stopped because she found that Yan Zhike was walking toward her. Looking for me? What for? In her surprise and anxiety, she saw Yenjika stop in front of her, so she said nervously, "Hello, senior sister. What's the matter?" Yenjika smiled, "Hello, little Changya." "Aw. Little Changya. Little Changya." Yen Shaoling was stunned at first, then her mouth opened wide, as if she had turned into a confused cat. She suddenly felt that she didn't know the beautiful senior in front of her. Based on his and Chang's habit of shamelessly showing off their affection, as long as little Changya joined the martial arts club and insisted on attending one class every week, it wouldn't take long for her to discover this matter. "I think you two are a pair." Yen Shaoling waved her right hand and said happily, "I'm so excited. I'm chatting with Lu Cheng's girlfriend." "Humph, they didn't believe in my intuition." "I saw that you guessed so." Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. She took the opportunity to lead the topic to the interesting things in the forum. She was a girl who paid attention to the details of interpersonal relationships. She was careful not to mention the dark history of eternal nightfall, so as not to embarrass her in front of her roommates. However, she underestimated Yen Shaoling. How could a person who often made fun of herself control her mouth? When it came to familiar things, she immediately revealed her true colors and revealed a lot of embarrassing things. He and Mu Jinyan were not familiar with Yenjika and did not know about Lu Chang's fan forum. Normally, it would be difficult for them to join the conversation. However, when Yen Shaoling began to make fun of herself, they couldn't help but ask for details. They chatted happily. When Yen Shaoling calmed down and realized that something was wrong, she found that her two roommates were looking at her very strangely, as if they were saying, "Yen Shaoling, I didn't expect you to be like this. Hoo, I don't want to live anymore." Yen Shaoling reached out to cover her face. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed softly. She leaned forward and backward slightly and looked at the time. "Little Changya, will you join the special training?" Special training. The details of the special training flashed in Yen Shaoling's mind. Her face turned a little pale. I don't think so. My arms and legs are too small, for hours of training every day. I'd rather just kill myself. I'm such a lazy person that I can only eat one meal a day in order not to get out of bed. How can I join the special training?" After saying that, she felt very regretful and lost. If she didn't join the special training, she wouldn't be able to see Lu Cheng's training posture often and get first-hand news. No. Yenjika opened her mouth silently, pausing after each word, and then said with a smile, "How about you come to the martial arts club's office to help out when you're free? You and senior sister Wen are in charge of organizing the on-site cheering." Yen Shaoling was pleasantly surprised. "I don't need the special training, and I can come to the martial arts club often. This is a great thing." Yes. She agreed excitedly. "Remember to find Senior Xiaowen later. She's that one." Yenjika pointed at Li Xiaowen, who was not far away, and asked Yen Shaoling to add her QQ, "Then I'll go first." "Bye, Senior Xiaowen. You're so nice." Yen Shaoling waved excitedly. She and Lu Cheng are a perfect match. Thinking of this, Yen Shaoling took out her phone and posted a post in the forum with an arrogant emoji. "Ha, big gossip, big gossip. But I won't tell you. I don't want to hear it. Get lost." Brahmin, who was waiting for her live broadcast, answered immediately. Yen Shaoling didn't feel that she was being scolded. She said with a squirming emoji, "Brahmin, I really want to tell you, but Senior Xiaowen is so nice. I have to keep it a secret for her." Ask. I'm such a soft-hearted person." "Senior Xiaowen. Is she Lu Cheng's girlfriend?" Okamoto's fan had sharp eyes. I didn't say anything. Yan Shaoling pouted and typed on the keyboard. Really? Really? Is she that pretty member of the martial arts club? Brahman guessed from the most probable since the target range was so small. How did you get it so quickly? You don't feel any sense of achievement. Yan Shaoling sent a crying emoji. At this time, Mu Jinyan, who was beside her, asked in confusion, Shaoling, do you know how to organize a live cheering event? She agreed so quickly. Of course. Yan Shaoling stuck out her chest. I'm a professional. She could feel that He and Mu Jinyan did not believe her at all. She added weakly, brotherly, you're right. Fan. Okay, a professional fan. Yenjika walked back to Lu Qing with light steps. She was thinking about Nightfall's teasing just now with a smile. Why did you go to see Eternal Nightfall? Lu Qing asked nervously, although he didn't know why he was nervous. Can't I? Yenjika tilted her head with a faint smile. Of course. No problem. Lu Qing expressed his opinion first and then said in confusion, I'm just curious. I thought you would stay away, just like me. He didn't forget to praise himself. Yenjika chuckled and glanced at Lu Chang's face. In the beginning, my emotions were quite complicated. Later, I thought it through and felt that it was better to be open-minded. Yes. Little Changye didn't let me down. He is really a very funny and honest child. You're talking as if you're very old. Your 19th birthday is still 2 months away. Lu Qing was relieved and teased his girlfriend. Yenjika bit her lower lip and sighed with emotion. Cheng, sometimes I'm confused too. Am I too rational, too polite, and too focused on the details of interpersonal relationships? I want to do my best in everything. This time, when I went back to celebrate my grandfather's birthday, I met many relatives. They would make jokes that I didn't like, and they would also introduce young talents to me, saying that they were preparing me for my university graduation. At that time, I really wanted to leave or tell them that I already had a boyfriend, but I felt that it was stupid and impolite, so I could only smile hypocritically and keep quiet. Sigh, I often want to be self-willed and live a self-centered life. Chapter 306. In the office of the Martial Arts Club, not only were the old members like Lu Qing and Lin Ke, but also the new members like He Zi, Mu Jinyan, and Wang Dali, who had just undergone special training for 2 weeks. Xu Rui was directing the camera to record their daily life. The weather in late October had turned cold. She didn't wear her business attire when she came here every few days. Instead, she wore a thin and lazy sweater and a knee-length skirt. She looked like a student, and Li Mao, Wang Dali, and the others stole glances at her from time to time. Relax. Don't mind the camera. Just treat us as if we don't exist. Just talk as you usually do. Xu Rui looked around with her bright eyes, looking for something to talk about. No one took her words seriously. Who would want to let their bad side be recorded and broadcasted for thousands of people to enjoy? He Zi and the other new members who had never been interviewed quietly moved their seats and found human bodies to block the camera. Only Geezer sure didn't care. He happily drank his wine and chewed his weird-flavored peanuts. As for Lin Ke, he stood there with his hands in his pockets. His face was as cold as usual, and his lips were tightly pursed. On the computer screen, the guests were still giving their speeches, which made people feel sleepy. Lu Qing leaned back in his chair and took out his phone. He quickly typed on the keyboard and sent a message to Yenjika, who was beside him. It's so uncomfortable with cameras around. Yenjika had tidied herself up before going out because she knew in advance that Xu Rui would be there. She put something on her face, wore a cotton skirt, and covered her legs with silk stockings. Under the light, her face was like a painting, bright and youthful. Lu Qing couldn't help but praise her as a fairy. After seeing her boyfriend's action, she took out her phone and read the message. She replied with an emoji of covering its mouth and laughing. Don't you think it's weird? You have to chat face to face with your phone. Can't help it. Who asked the reporters to watch us covetously? Lu Qing replied with a pained expression. Can't you just hold it in and not chat with me for a while? Yenjike said proudly, but she felt sweet in her heart. Lu Qing replied without hesitation, no. Yenjike's eyebrows curved as she sent an emoji of touching the head. Alright, I'll dote on you. Hee hee, every time you call yourself sister, you are so cute. Lu Qing said with a smirk. Really? Is this the only time you're cute? Yenjike asked. Sitting obediently and waiting for compliments, not really. You're even cuter when you call me big pervert, replied Lu Qing. Pfft. Yenjike bit her pink lips and trembled slightly when she saw the message. She tried very hard to hold back her laughter and the urge to stare at her boyfriend, pinch him, and kick him. She gnashed her teeth and typed on the keyboard energetically. I'm going to call the police. Lu Qing unconsciously curled his lips and almost laughed out loud. It took him a lot of effort to control his facial expression and continue to flirt with Ku. In the eyes of Xu Rui and the others, they were just playing with their phones out of boredom. Towards the end of the conversation, Lu Qing thought of something and sent a question mark expression. Ku, isn't it said that after reaching the inhuman level, one's root pulp will gradually change and the offspring may be born with supernatural abilities? Why didn't your cousin awaken anything? During this time, he had been thinking about how to help his brother-in-law improve his physical fitness. As he thought about it, this question came to him. Ku's grandfather was the Shushen study elder Ji Jianzhang, who had reached the first pin physical invulnerability several decades ago. Her grandmother, Do Ning, was also a physical invulnerability expert and an elder of Shushen study. The offspring of the two should have a higher chance of awakening supernatural abilities. Also, the change in the root pulp of the inhuman stage is very small and unstable. The probability of the offspring inheriting the supernatural ability is very low. Only after they reach the physical invulnerability stage will the probability become realistic. My uncle and aunt were born when my grandfather was in the low Dan stage and the inhuman stage. They didn't inherit the supernatural ability. Or rather, it didn't show up. Only my mother, the youngest daughter, was born after they reached the physical invulnerability stage and then awakened the supernatural ability. Ah, Empress Dowager has supernatural abilities. Lu Qing was shocked. Yenjike sent a cheers emoji. Congratulations, you got it right. However, Empress Dowager is careless in her martial arts and supernatural ability training. She doesn't put enough effort into it. Her overall combat strength is only weaker than 8th pin. She added, my aunt was born when my grandparents were still at the inhuman level. Perhaps she inherited some altered root pulp. My brother might have awakened some supernatural ability at any time. Sigh, logically speaking, the probability of me awakening a supernatural ability should not be small. But I'm congenitally deficient and haven't shown anything. Lu Qing sent a hug emoji and said, don't be sad. Technology is developing, so is martial arts. Maybe one day your natural deficiency will be cured. You're stealing my words. Yenjike scolded. I'm repeating your teachings, Coach Yen. Lu Qing took the opportunity to compliment her. Yenjike put her hands on her hips and shook her head proudly. Then she sent a cover mouth emoji and said, actually, I'm not sad about this anymore. I'm used to it. I'm a little glad. Glad for what? Lu Qing asked blankly. Hee hee, I'll tell you next time. Yenjike lowered her eyes and replied softly. If it weren't for my natural deficiency, my life would have been different. I wouldn't have stayed in Shushan to study in high school, and I wouldn't have come to study in Songqing. If that were the case, we wouldn't have known each other, hugged, or kissed. We'd be like passers-by. It's the luckiest thing in my life to be able to meet you in the prime of my life. I'll tell you when we're old and still holding hands. At this time, the guests finished their speeches and the song and dance performance. The mighty one with physical invulnerability for the drawing ceremony walked up the stage. She was the witch Qian Hui. She was 27 years old and had reached physical invulnerability in the first half of the year. She was the main force of the second-level Haiyuan Club. They were very likely to enter the top ranks. The reason why the organizing committee invited this new mighty one as a guest was that she had a close relationship with the university martial arts competition. Before a large number of geniuses such as Peng Liyun and Renli entered the martial arts circle, Qian Hui was the representative figure of this circle. She was also one of the few cases of people who could walk step by step to the peak of martial arts after studying in the university. She had a considerable symbolic significance and inspired generations of junior brothers and sisters. Qian Hui had a buzz cut and looked like a feminine boy. But her eyes were as deep as the sea and had a strange charm. The host didn't dare to look at her in the eyes. He turned his head stiffly to the side and announced the next procedure. According to the popular saying in Jianghu, the witch had her own hypnotism. While Qian Hui was giving a short speech, the broadcast switched to the stands and swept past the top two teams of the last competition, Shanbei University Martial Arts Club and Sanjiang College Martial Arts Club. Peng Liyun was leaning against the back of the chair. His body was relaxed and his eyes were empty. People who knew him would know that this was his habit and style. People who didn't know him would think that he was arrogant and didn't care about his opponents or the draw. Su Wanyan's eye bags were as heavy as usual. He straightened his back subconsciously and paid attention to the draw that was about to begin. Beside him, Fang Zhirong had many freckles on his face. He was a delicate and pretty boy, but his expression was obviously arrogant. In the seats of Sanjiang College, Chu Hui was wearing a tuxedo. He looked calm, but his hands had changed their posture. They were clasped in front of his stomach and his fingers were clasped tightly. Qian Hui didn't talk for long before she got to the point. On behalf of the organizing committee, she announced the adjustment of the competition format of this university martial arts competition. The first part of the competition remained the same. There were still 4 groups and 4 seeds. The rest of the teams would draw lots for 2 or 3 rounds of single elimination and enter the corresponding groups. The team that drew the left position would have the home advantage. The group competition was still a single cycle, and the top 2 would emerge. After that, there would be cross matches. The first and second would fight, and the top 8 would be eliminated to determine the top 4. At this stage, the elimination system was supposed to continue, and the winners would go to the capital. However, in order to ensure that the strong teams wouldn't be disqualified because of early clashes, the organizing committee made some adjustments. The 4 teams would fight a single cycle, and the top 2 would enter the national finals. In this way, there would be one more round of competition. The division competition of this martial arts competition would be held a week earlier, the week after the professional ranking event. Good news. Kai Zongming didn't hide his smile. This meant that even if they met Shanbei in advance, Songqing University Martial Arts Club would still have a great chance to appear. It seems that we have to fight Shanbei at least once. Li Mao sighed. The top 4 would be in a single cycle. Lu Qing and Yan Zhike looked at each other and smiled. Then he turned to his brother-in-law and made a fist gesture. Peng Liyun arrived as scheduled. Lin Kai took his hand out of his trouser pocket and made a fist as a response. Flames were burning deep in his eyes. Gizershur snorted and poured the last sip of wine into his throat. Group A, Shanbei University. Group B, Haiyuan College. Group C, Shannon University. Group D, Sanjiang College. Qianhui drew the seeded teams first. The top 4 teams were the same as last year, which showed their dominance. The drawing continued. Teams were drawn one by one, each with sadness and joy. Group C, 5th round of elimination. Home team, Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The guest announced with bright eyes. Lu Qing and Lin Ke were already famous. Group match against Shannon. Yenjika whispered to herself, her dimples showing. Shannon and Haiyuan were slightly weaker than Sanjiang, and Sanjiang was much stronger than Shanbei. Li Mao and the others didn't hide their joy. They gave each other a fist bump, forgetting that there were cameras recording everything. Lu Qing coughed twice, cleared his throat, and reminded him, Shannon is not weak either. They should have 3 professional 9th pin fighters this year. And their leading player, Mu Yu, is a supernatural power user, known as the Bane. He's not easy to deal with. Understood. Several members of the martial arts club answered in high spirits. With you and Lin Ke, we don't need to worry about the Bane. At Shannon University, the members of the martial arts club gathered to watch the drawing of lots. When Songqing University entered Group C, they held their breaths, quieted down, and felt depressed. It's okay. Even if we lose, we can still advance as the second in the group. After a long time, Miyu comforted his teammates. He was born with an old face. Although he was a young man in his early 20s, he looked like he was in his 40s or 50s. He was often ridiculed as Old Man Mu. His supernatural ability was a misfortune. Any opponent who competed with him would inexplicably have bad luck, and when he won the competition, there would be a backlash around him. Among the people he knew, there would be a random person who would be unlucky for 3 days, but the degree was relatively mild. Because of this, the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University had no coach or instructor. Maybe we can win. Captain, I used to believe in science, but now I believe in you. Another leading member of the Martial Arts Club, Lin Xiaoji, tried to cheer everyone up. With a high ponytail, she looked fresh and clean. Around her neck was a necklace with a Taoist amulet. On her left wrist was a consecrated Buddhist bead, and in her right hand was a small cross. Her clothes were embroidered with Arabic characters. She was wearing all kinds of anti-misfortune items from various religions. Let's fight. We'll know after we fight. Mu Yu clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. The 5th round of the knockout match, the away team. The guest drew Songqing University's first opponent. Guanan School. Guanan School. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University, Li Mao, Sun Jian, Kai Zhongming and the others were stunned at first, then overjoyed. Last year, the Martial Arts Club couldn't advance in the group because they lost to them. Everyone had been holding a grudge. Now, they finally had a chance to take revenge. Every dog has its day. Lin Ke closed his eyes and put his right hand back into his trouser pocket, clenching it into a fist. Lu Cheng's spirits were lifted. He looked at Yan Jika happily and smiled at the camera that had turned around. This is a good opponent. Start from where you failed. Chapter 307. In the jubilant office, Guiqing knocked on the table and said with a smile, Senior Sister Lin, tell us about the current situation of the Martial Arts Club of Guanan School. Lin Hua had a close friend in Guanan School who would tell her about the situation from time to time. At this moment, she was thinking and organizing her words. Gu Yu is in his senior year, but he is still a professional 9th pin. It is said that Fei Sonli is close to the level of professional 9th pin, but he hasn't participated in the ranking event yet, so no one knows whether he will succeed. Lan got the certificate of amateur first pin in June, and the new members are the best at amateur second pin. Hearing about the current situation of Guanan School, Li Mao, Sun Jian and the others were stunned, as if they were dreaming. A year had passed. Lan had advanced 1 pin, Fei Sanli had advanced half a step, and Guyu had become stronger, but he still couldn't reach the threshold of the Dan stage. This was a normal change in the martial arts club of a university. But in Li Mu's club, 1 professional 9th pin, 1 amateur first pin, and several amateur second pin and amateur third pin fighters had become 2 Dan stage fighters, 1 professional 9th pin fighter, and several amateur first pin and amateur second pin fighters. In the martial arts club of Guanan School. Seeing the result of the draw, Lan blurted out, full of fear and frustration, "What a coincidence." They had drawn last year's opponent, Songqing University. F***ck. Guyu bulged his muscles and shook his clothes. He grabbed the cup on the table and smashed it on the ground. In the sound of the cup breaking, several new members stepped back in fear, not daring to face their club president's anger. After Guyu strode away, Fei Sanli touched his bald head and smiled bitterly. "That's it for this year. I'd better participate in the ranking event of professional 9th pin next week. I can't waste time. Let's go. Let's go." He waved his hand and walked out of the office, leaving the new members silent and Lan clenching her teeth. Lan, recite the strength of Songqing University's substitutes. I'm sure they won't let both Lu Qing and Lin Ke fight against us. Coach Guzhen touched his grizzled hair and sighed. Lan paused for a moment, then took out her phone and opened her notepad. She read weekly, Li Mao, amateur first pin, Sun Jian, amateur first pin, Yan Zheke, amateur second pin but did not attend the amateur ranking event in September, Lin Hua, amateur second pin, Kai Zhongming, amateur second pin, He Zi, amateur second pin, Wang Dali, amateur second pin, Jin Liu, amateur second pin, Gui Qing, amateur third pin, Mu Jinyan, amateur third pin. After she finished reciting, she silently added in her heart, as for the main force, Lu Qing was a professional 8th pin fighter of professional 8th pin, and Lin Ke was above the normal 8th pin Dan stage. This was the configuration of the top 4 in the final circle. How were they supposed to fight? Friendship first, competition second. The autumn air was refreshing and the night breeze was chilly. Lu Qing and Yan Zheke strolled along the lakeside hand in hand. They were in a good mood because of the result of the lottery just now. While recalling the past events of last year, they looked forward to the future and outlined their dreams. A gentle breeze brushed past his face, and the water was still. After the discussion, Lu Qing was about to take a step forward when he suddenly felt a girl tugging at his sleeve. It was a weak tug. "What's wrong?" He tilted his head and asked in amusement. It was rare to see such a girl like this. Yan Zheke was wearing Lu Cheng's coat. Her glossy black hair hung down to her vest. Her face was fair and delicate. Her eyelashes fluttered a few times, and she said timidly, "Qing, I need to discuss something with you." "What is it?" Lu Qing was confused. "I don't want to participate in the ranking event of professional 9th pin next week." Yan Zheke's eyes drifted. "I didn't have much hope in the first place. I just wanted to gain some practical experience for the division contest. But now the martial arts competition will be held a week earlier. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover in time. I can't put the cart before the horse." According to her usual temperament and style of doing things, she should talk about this matter with Qing rationally and frankly. But somehow, when the words came to her mouth, she inexplicably felt guilty and guilty. Slammed the table. "Why do I feel guilty? Why do I feel guilty?" When Lu Qing heard about the adjustment of the competition schedule, he had a hunch in this regard. Therefore, he was not surprised. He smiled and said, "Of course. The ranking event of professional ninth pin lasts for 2 weeks and 4 days. There are 3 high-level fights a day. It's too intense. Besides, you don't have abnormal stamina like me. You won't be able to recover in a week. Although he said so, he still felt a little disappointed and regretful. He had been back in Songqing for 2 months and had no private time with Ku. If he couldn't participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin, he couldn't go to the hotel openly. Cough. Thinking of this, Lu Qing added another sentence to show that he didn't mind. He chuckled and said, "Anyway, there will be plenty of chances in the future." Yan Zhike turned her head and spat at him. She swung her hand and hit him, saying, "What are you talking about?" "I said there will be plenty of chances in the ranking event of professional ninth pin." Lu Qing laughed. Before he finished his words, Yan Zhike suddenly stood on tiptoe, closed her eyes, and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. She deliberately said in a delicate voice, "Darling, you're so nice." Her cheeks flushed. After the kiss, she turned around and ran away, swinging her hands and leaving a clear and melodious laughter. Lu Qing was stunned for 2 or 3 seconds. He touched the corner of his mouth subconsciously, and then a smile appeared on his face. He strove to catch up with her. Only at times like this, when he had experienced a lot and become more mature, could he see the 19-year-old boy in his heart. Yan Zhike went back to the dormitory with light steps and opened the door. She didn't want to be teased by Li Liantong, so she preemptively said, "Dirty Tong, you're still memorizing books at this late hour?" Li Liantong screamed, "I don't want to either. I'm in my 2nd year of university. There are more and more professional courses, and they're getting more and more difficult. Damn, that long list of translated Latin words is killing me." Yan Zhike felt the same. She pursed her lips and said, "So are we. It's not enough to just listen to the classes. We used to go out once a week, but now we have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks before we have time. Of course, this refers to the top 5%. If you just want to graduate and get a diploma, you just need to listen to the classes and study hard before the exam. You can do whatever you want in your daily life." Sigh. Recently, my dates with Qing have been more in the self-study room and the library. You only go out once every 2 or 3 weeks. Can your Qing bear it? Li Liantong turned her head in surprise and started driving out of habit. What do you mean by bear it? We see each other every day. Yan Zhike pretended not to understand. Li Liantong clicked her tongue and said, "You've been dating for almost 9 months. Don't tell me there's no progress. I don't believe your Qing is a monk. As for men, once they have a breakthrough, they'll want more. When they're young and full of vigor, they'll definitely be eager and passionate." Before she could finish her words, Yan Zhike picked up the decorative landline and said grumpily, "What's wrong?" "Hello, is this Yaoling? There's a female hooligan here." Their conversation made sure Xiangyang and Zhong Yanru want to laugh. The latter had the best relationship with Yan Zhike, so she quickly changed the topic. "Dirty Tong, I feel that you're wrong." "What's wrong with monks?" "I remember it was written in a book called Water Margin. The first word is monk, the second word is monk, the third word is ghost music official, and the fourth word is hungry ghost in sex." Li Liantong nodded immediately, "Yes, yes, yes. There are so many stories about monks." Yan Zhike was relieved that the topic had changed. While listening to their nonsense, she took out her phone and replied to Lu Cheng's message. At the same time, she checked the forum to see what people thought about the result of the draw. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling put her post at the top with the title, "Martial Arts Club's Draw Reaction Live Broadcast." She wrote in the main post, "I'm crying. I'm too scared to go because I'm not a member of the special training team. No, cross it out. I can't enter the office because I'm not a member of the special training team. But I have a spy. Next, let's welcome the reporter from the front, Bao Zi, no, the cat reporter from the front, many cats, to report, on the second post, many cats, posted. When we drew Guanan School, Lu Qing looked at Senior Yen for the 28th time tonight, and Senior Yen looked back at him for the 28th time. What? Feeling wronged, Yenjika opened her mouth and looked up. She recalled what had happened that night and counted carefully. Liar. There were only 19 times. She looked down and continued to read the report. Lin Ke closed his eyes, put his hands in his pockets, expressionless as usual. Jin Jin kept peeking at him. President Kai Zhongming chatted with Senior Li Mao happily, which made Li Mao want to cover his ears several times. Reporter Shu was like a shark that smelled blood, looking from one to another, from another to this. Senior Sister Guiqing gave Senior Sister Lin Hua a bear hug. Coach Shi drank all the wine, turned the small pot upside down, and kept shaking it, but didn't shake out a single drop, so he stayed out of the situation. Looking at the description of these bystanders, Yenjika smiled faintly but still felt warm in her heart. This is our martial arts club, our. What about your cat reporter? Unparalleled Dragon King asked curiously. Many cats replied, meow, meow, meow. In the busy and fulfilling days, the university martial arts competition was getting closer and closer. Finally, that Saturday came. Mu Jinyan and Yen Shaoling, who didn't make it into the competition list, came to the stadium together, only to see that it was crowded with many students. I'm so excited. It's our home ground. Yen Shaoling jumped around the stands and found a seat. Mu Jinyan was wearing a black-edged white Songqing University martial arts suit with a backpack. When she sat down, she took out a banner with the name Lin Ke written on it, a trumpet, an inflatable hammer, and other cheering tools. Ah! Jin Jin, you prepared these. Yen Shaoling was dumbfounded. Shouldn't I? Mu Jinyan looked at her in confusion. You didn't prepare. Aren't you a professional fan? I'm too excited. Oh, I have to help Senior Sister Wen. Yen Shaoling was ashamed and ran away from her seat. Fan, Dragon King, Okamoto, Bull Demon King, Naive, Chi-Chi. I've embarrassed the forum. In the locker room of the home team, Lu Qing and Yenjika sat side by side at the end of the bench, with their backs against the wall. They closed their eyes to rest, waiting for their turn. He vaguely heard the cheering and shouting outside, and couldn't help but recall the situation of the home ground last time. That time, they lost to Wenqing School and Zhou Jingquan, but they weren't disappointed. Instead, they shouted the slogan, "Next time," in unison. While thinking, he found that the shouting outside was getting more and more orderly and louder. What are they shouting? Lu Qing curiously tilted his ear and concentrated his hearing. That voice suddenly became clear, and the sound of a tsunami took shape. We're here. We're here. Next time. We're here. Lu Qing suddenly understood what his classmates meant. This was a continuation of the previous cheering. This was an answer to the past. His eyes were warm, and he clenched his fists. Yes, we're here. Sorry to keep you waiting. Chapter 308. The shouts penetrated the door of the locker room, waking up the team members who were resting with their eyes closed. Everyone was moved and excited, as if there was some kind of passion boiling in their hearts. They looked at each other excitedly. Geyser coughed and said, "It's almost time. I'll arrange the order of appearance. Lu Qing will be the last one to go up today." Me? Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. Shouldn't it be my brother-in-law to go up and end last year's regret? I'm ready to wave a towel on the bench. At this time, Lin K also made a move. He stepped forward and asked, "Coach, I want to go up." Geezer laughed and said, "Are you still holding a grudge over last year's game? Why should you care about this kind of opponent? It's good that you want to win, but don't lower yourself too much. It's settled. You'll be the last one next week." He didn't give Lin K a chance to complain and directly made the decision. Lin K's rare request was blocked. He tightened his lips and became more silent. Geezer looked around, took a sip of wine, and said with a smile, "You kids can see for yourselves that little Yen is the one with the best performance during the team training. Those two brats are not human at all. She'll be the first one. No one will object, right?" Yenjika was rarely praised by Coach Shi in such a serious way. She couldn't hide her joy. Her eyes sparkled. She pursed her lips and turned her head, looking to the side and secretly reaching out to pinch Lu Cheng's palm. So happy. Well, Coach Shi's seriousness was only limited to the part where he praised her. Since mastering the internal training method, Yenjika had improved rapidly. Her strength was obvious to all. The team members present all shook their heads to show their approval. For this kind of thing, even if they wanted to go against their conscience, they had to consider the reality. Offending Yenjika was equivalent to offending Lu Cheng. Of course, they didn't know that offending Yenjika was equivalent to offending Lin Quebec. "You're the first one to go up today. Play well and aim to improve yourself. There will be people behind you," Geezer reminded. "Yes, Coach Shi." Yenjika closed her legs and straightened her back. She deliberately acted cute in a military posture. The excitement in her heart was obvious on her face. Geezer smiled and shook his head, as if he was thinking of his daughter at this age. He sighed slightly and turned to Li Mao. "Is there any problem with you being the second one?" Li Mao's nervousness had mostly been cured after numerous actual battles. With Lu Cheng behind him, he felt even less burdened. He replied loudly, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry." After deciding on the order of the main force, Geezer casually pointed at the members and said, "Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Kai Zhongming." Since he couldn't meditate, he had fallen behind Yenjika and Li Mao. Next year, he might be overtaken by Kai Zhongming. Guiqing was even more depressed. She felt that her position in the martial arts club was getting more and more awkward. Not only did she not become the main force, but she also failed to be chosen as the substitute. What was more sad was that if it wasn't for the consideration of the old members, she wouldn't even be on the main list. As for He Zi and Wang Dali, the two newcomers were full of curiosity about everything in the locker room. They used their eyes as cameras to record everything they saw. They didn't have any negative feelings. Phew. Kai Zhongming exhaled and whispered, "My preparation was in vain." "What did you prepare?" Lu Cheng turned his head curiously and asked. "I prepared a draft of the dialogue time." Kai Zhongming sighed. "What a pity. My fame has to be delayed." Lu Cheng squinted at him. "You think too much." While they were teasing each other, Geezer asked Jiang Fuxing to write the list of the main force and the substitute and submit it to the competition supervisor. After waiting for less than a minute, he clapped his hands and said, "Okay, let's go." When they were walking to the door, Lu Cheng moved closer to Geezer and asked in a low voice, "Master, there's no difference between me and Lin K in this match. Why do you have to stop him?" This was very puzzling, and Coach Yen was also very confused. Geezer snorted. "Haven't you heard of the saying that the most rigid thing is easy to break?" "You're polishing Lin K?" Lu Cheng asked in realization. Geezer smiled. "His temper needs to be polished, or he'll break himself in the future." The key thing will cause too big of a blow, so I have to start with this kind of small thing." "Got it." Lu Qing stepped back and returned to Yanjika's side, relaying his master's words. Yanjika listened with mixed feelings. After a few seconds of silence, she sighed. My brother is too tensed up. Creak. The door to the changing room opened, and the warm sound from outside rushed in without any obstruction. It poured into everyone's ears and burned their blood. Songqing University. Songqing University. At this time, the students saw Lu Qing and the others coming out. Their cheers became more and more ferocious, as if they had just finished an outbreak. We're coming. Lu Qing closed his eyes and tilted his head to look at Yanjika. From her eyes, he read the same thoughts as his. National University Martial Arts Competitions, we're coming. Today's level of competition was not broadcasted on TV, internet, or even prepared and recorded. Only Xu Rui led the team to record the material for the program. She stood at the edge of the stands, feeling the pure madness and wanton in the sound waves. She couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's so good to be young. I used to spend my youth like this too. But now, I have to run around for daily necessities, worry about falling in love, be confused about the future, and have a headache about interpersonal relationships. I'm so busy that I'm physically and mentally exhausted. How can I have the same state of mind as before? However, venting out all the negative emotions that had accumulated in such an atmosphere seemed to be a good choice. Xu Rui's blood began to boil as she listened. She wanted to close her eyes, forget about reality, and scream at the top of her lungs. Not far from her side, Li Liantong and the others were already waving their hands and creating a human flesh forest. In a place further away from her, Xiao Chang and the others were no longer reserved and polite. They were shouting until their faces were completely red. In the locker room of the away team. Listening to the noise outside and recalling the previous experience, Gu spontaneously said in his heart, that was then, and this is now. He looked at his father and said, as usual, I'll be the vanguard. You decide who goes first. Even if you lose, you have to lose beautifully. It was obvious that Songqing University would let Lu Qing or Lin Ke be the last one to train the substitutes so that they wouldn't have to worry about fighting them at the beginning. Based on this, according to normal logic, I should let Ji Lan, a sophomore, be the vanguard to fight more matches, accumulate more experience, and contribute to the renewal of the martial arts club. However, I'm a senior and want to graduate with dignity. I want to draw a perfect conclusion to the last match of the martial arts club with victory. Losing 2 matches in a row to Lu Qing or Lin Ke is not a failure. In the ranking event 2 weeks ago, Fei Songli was defeated by a strong group and failed to qualify. He was in low spirits and did not bother to argue with Gu Yu's arrangement. He glanced at Ji Lan and agreed in a muffled voice. Ji Lan didn't care. She just wanted to broaden her knowledge and gain some experience in fighting with a mighty of Dan stage. They all stood up and walked out of the locker room without the momentum of last year. After the audience shouted the names of the leading players and substitutes, the referee stepped into the ring and made a gesture to both sides. The first match between Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Guanan School. Yanjika vs. Gu Yu. Hearing that it was this beautiful student who left a deep impression on everyone, the audience burst into a climax again. Shouts and trumpets intertwined. Gu Yu. Lu Qing didn't show his worry. He looked at Yanjika and said with a smile, here comes the challenge. Okay. Yanjika pursed her lips and nodded with a solemn expression. She stood up and high-fived Lu Qing and Lin Ke before walking towards the stands with her head held high. She had tied up her long hair and looked radiant with bright eyes and white teeth. Gu Yu didn't expect the girl to be the vanguard and was stunned. When he came to himself, Yanjika was standing in front of him. The referee raised his right hand and said, talk time starts now. According to her profile, she is only in the second year of amateur ranking event, but she didn't attend the amateur ranking event in September. Since she can beat Sun Jian, who is in the first year of amateur ranking event, she must be at least in the first year of amateur ranking event, or even stronger. She looks gentle and delicate, so she must be a well-educated girl. She is definitely not good at quarreling or talking, and is easily affected by words. Guyu thought of this and deliberately grinned. Although there are many female seniors with physical invulnerability, I still have to say that the ring belongs to men. Women shouldn't get involved. A special case is always a special case. Yenjika was infuriated. She wanted to retort, but soon she calmed down. She knew it was impossible for him to have a good debate with her. In terms of cursing, swearing, and provocation, she might not even win against a primary school student. So annoying. He is unreasonable. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes to calm down. Ignoring Gu Yu's following sarcasm, she repeated Lu Cheng's words in her mind. Martial arts competition is not about words. 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 When Gu Yu found that the beautiful girl in front of him was so calm and unaffected, he shut up in time. The 3 minutes were almost over. Yenjika opened her eyes. Her body was in its best condition. The referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Begin. The new National University Martial Arts competition started. Chapter 309. As a fighter with a tough fighting style, Gu was confident that he could defeat such a gentle and pretty girl. Therefore, he didn't back down and launched an attack to warn her. His legs suddenly exerted force and his body leaped out like an arrow. In a flash, he put his left hand forward and turned his shoulder to punch with his right arm. Bang! The wind roared, complementing the roar of the king of beasts in Gu Yu's mind. Black Tiger Steel's heart. Facing such a powerful attack, the seemingly weak and slender Yenjika remained calm. Instead of dodging, she pressed her feet against the ground and channeled her strength to her spine through her ankles, knees, and hips. Then she moved her arms. With a cracking sound, she raised her left arm to block and punched out with her right fist from her chest and abdomen. Strength against strength, strength against strength. The girl's response was out of Gu Yu's expectation, but he was confident and didn't make any changes. Bang! A muffled sound echoed in the air. Yenjika's body trembled, and her shoulders swung backward as if she couldn't bear the opponent's tremendous strength. Although her steps were light and agile, orderly, her face turned red and her center of gravity swayed unsteadily. Humph! You want to compete with me in strength? When Gu Yu saw the opportunity, he stretched his tall body and transformed into the god of giant spirits. He strode forward and punched fiercely from the top right to the bottom left with his right fist like a giant hammer. He showed no mercy to the fairer sex. This caused the audience to exclaim in unison. Their hearts were in their mouths as they held their breaths. How could a girl of amateur second pin fight against a professional ninth pin fighter? At this moment, Yenjika suddenly stopped without any warning. Her body kept trembling, and her temples bulged strangely. She braced her legs and lowered her waist into a sitting position, like a wooden figure swinging back and forth. Her right hand clenched into a fist, as if she was moving or blocking the attack. Bang! The sound of collision broke out. Cracks like a spider web appeared at the feet of the two figures. Gu Yu was surprised to find that Yenjika's punch was not much weaker than his own. Together with her blocking skills, they were evenly matched. How could it be? While he was still in shock, he saw the girl lean back slightly and draw out her left foot with borrowed strength. Bang! Her straight and slender leg tightened and turned into a scalp-numbing whip. It went straight for Gu Yu's knee, making his pupils shrink to the size of needles. Endless brutal blizzard. This also caused the surrounding students' exclamations to come to an abrupt halt. Each and every one of them had an astonished expression. They never thought that the gentle and weak girl would actually be able to fight evenly with the tall and strong muscular man, and even take the initiative to counterattack. In the beginning, Yenjike chose to resist Gu Yu's attack with her feet because she wanted to test her own strength. Of course, she only dared to do so because she was quite confident. Lu Qing was sure that her physical quality was close to professional ninth pin. After a punch, she finally determined her own condition. Her strength was not as good as Gu Yu's, but it was not so bad that she could not make up for it. She could steadily block his attack by taking a step back. The reason why she took a few steps back was that she had used the yin-yang twist, which she had improved by leaps and bounds in the past few months. She borrowed her opponent's strength to fill the gap between them and found the opportunity to use the 24 blizzard strikes. And once the blizzard arrived, the more they fought, the stronger and fiercer it became. Gu Yu didn't have time to think. Facing the whipping kick with explosive airflow, he could only tighten his thighs and twist his hips to resist. Bang! Yenjike spread her legs. In her mind, she thought of the continuous blizzard. Her toes touched the ground quickly, her spine straightened, her body leaned forward, and her right arm pulled back like a bow shooting a tiger. Bang! Her fist swung out violently like a drill bit. Gu Yu was deeply impressed by Lin Kei's 24 blizzard strikes. He knew that he couldn't let his opponent accumulate momentum and become crazier. He had to interrupt her or he would be in great danger. His arm muscles bulged and he swung his waist and back, lashing out at her fist like a whip. He wanted to withdraw immediately to prevent his opponent from borrowing too much strength. Bang! Just as the single whip hit his right fist, Gu Yu quickly retracted his arm and tried to change his position to disrupt the girl's brutal blizzard. But Yenjike's body trembled again. Her right arm mechanically swung backward like a lever and raised the other side to attack. Bang! She shook her left arm and turned it into a big spear. With a crisp sound, she pointed it at Gu Yu's throat. The whistling wind and falling blizzard didn't stop at all. The more they fought, the stronger they became, leaving no chance for her opponent to dodge. The combination of yin-yang twist and 24 blizzard strikes. How could this work? How could she borrow strength to attack? Gu Yu's scalp tingled and he was inexplicably frightened. He didn't dare to look down on the gentle and delicate girl in front of him anymore. He braced himself and swung his left fist with explosive strength. He couldn't go on like this. After 2 or 3 moves, she would be able to suppress him in terms of strength and momentum. All resistance would be eliminated in the vast blizzard. He had to use his trump card to fight back. Last year, he was defeated by Lin Quebec. The memory of the 24 blizzard strikes was still fresh in his mind. He had been thinking hard about how to solve the problem if he accidentally fell into a disadvantageous position. Apart from using temporary explosive moves or the deafening sound skill to stop the fight, there was another way, which was to catch the opponent's arm and break their connection. Gu Yu didn't know the deafening sound skill, the secret skill, the blast punch, or the bear form. He was good at catching, which he had used to defeat Lin Quebec. Therefore, he worked hard in this aspect and felt that he wouldn't be at a loss if he was in the same predicament again. Now was the time. With a dignified expression, he hit the air with his left elbow and blocked Yenjike's attack from the side with his fist. Then, with a bang, he used the abrupt force and clasped the girl's forearm with 5 fingers. So what if you're at the initial level of meditation? I can also conceal spirit and chi, and my listening skill is not much worse than yours. Oh no! Concerned shouts came from both sides of the stands. Lu Qing crossed his arms and stood in front of the seats without anyone noticing. Guyu was overjoyed. He was about to shake all the joints in his body to tear his opponent apart when Yenjika suddenly took a deep breath. Her temples bulged and the skin on her left arm tightened. Her skin tightened, expanded, and bounced. Guyu's 5 fingers couldn't exert force and slipped to the side temporarily. The girl seized the opportunity and shook her forearm to break free from his grasp and grabbed his wrist instead. Yenjika had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. As a girl who liked to make plans, how could she not be prepared for encountering Guyu? She knew that with her current physical condition, it was almost impossible for her to finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes with the help of the yin-yang twist. Just like her cousin Lin K last year, he could only finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes. If she were to fight Guyu head-on like this, she might not be able to hold on in the end. Therefore, she used the yin-yang twist mixed with the 24 blizzard strikes to scare Guyu. She took advantage of the fact that he didn't know her well and was eager to get out of the predicament and induced him to use his best catching skill. The Ji family had its own way of catching. Lin K had used it to deal with Lu Qing before. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, victory and defeat were reversed. The spectators were dumbfounded as they shouted in silence. Guyu's 5 fingers clasped together. Guyu was frightened. His arms suddenly went soft and then tightened and shook. Yenjika heard his movements. She pressed and pushed with her left hand as if she was doing Tai Chi, perfectly neutralizing his struggle. Then, she lifted her waist and kicked out her right leg, forcing Guyu to raise his leg to meet it. Bam! Pulling back his legs, Yenjika took advantage of the force to open his joints. His body shook, and the 5 fingers of his left hand pulled fiercely, like a tiger biting its prey. Ah! Guyu screamed in pain. His arm muscles were twisted and his bones were dislocated. While he was screaming, Yenjika pulled back her left arm and turned her body sideways. She visualized the scene of snow collapsing and crashed into him fiercely. The mighty mega avalanche. Bam! Her fatal hit was blocked by the referee. Guyu's facial muscles twitched and he grimaced in pain. First round, Yenjika wins. The referee raised his right hand. I lost. I actually lost. I actually lost to a woman who is obviously not as good as me. Guyu forgot about his pain and stood there in a daze. Is this the end of my 4-year martial arts career in university? Yenjika was overjoyed. She turned around and waved her right fist at the home team's seat. I won. I won. Qing, I defeated a strong professional 9th pin fighter. Lu Qing smiled and clenched his fist. He echoed her words with some inexplicable feelings in his heart. Since the beginning of their relationship, he had gradually taken over Ku's training and learning from each other. It could be said that he had guided her growth step by step. Now, seeing that she had the strength to enter the 9th pin and had defeated a strong enemy that he had never dared to imagine, he was both satisfied and amazed. Ku had unknowingly become stronger. What the hell are you thinking about? Kai Zhongming stood beside Lu Qing and asked curiously. How do I put it? Lu Qing gave an analogy. Seeing Ku defeat Guyu is like seeing my daughter grow up day by day. Do you understand? This feeling. Kai Zhongming thought for a while and squinted at him. He spat out 2 words, pervert. F*ck, a pervert is a pervert. Lu Qing was almost amused by him. At this time, Jilan walked quickly to the ring under the signal of the referee and the chorus of Yenjika from the audience. Seeing this, Lu Qing took a step back and came to Lin K's side. Just wait and see. I may not have a chance to fight. Maybe Ku and Senior Li Mao will finish them all. There is no need to worry about such a strong opponent. He comforted his brother-in-law. He didn't say any great principles but only facts. In his mind, his brother-in-law was a capricious guy who said, "I understand all the principles you say, but I just don't listen." Lin K nodded imperceptibly, and his expression was less tense. "I thought you'd open your mouth and say a few words." Lu Qing was delighted at his little fairy's victory and was in a good mood. Lin K glanced at him and said calmly, "I don't want to do crosstalk." "What?" Lu Qing was confused. Kai Zhongming beside him said thoughtfully, "I feel that he is mocking both of us. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.